almost getting like an old-time revival meeting where every preacher takes us to a new level. It's a pleasure to be here because my life has been shaped, influenced, contaminated, what have you, by my relationship not only with Rabbi Heschel, but with the entire Jewish community. I grew up in New Orleans, 50 yards from the German-American Bund. And at 4 years old, there were no air conditioning then, so the windows were open. I would walk to my aunt's house, which was just in the next block, and I would hear people hailing Hitler. I went to your hate museum, and I saw a film that my father took me to see at 4 years old. It was a picture of Jesse Owens in the 1936 Olympics. And he used that lesson to tell me that you don't have to get caught up in hate, that these are sick people. And you don't get angry with sick people or bitter about sick people. You try to figure out ways to help them. And that's sort of the way I grew up. Interestingly enough, my father went to dental school, and so most of the people who were his dental suppliers happened to be Jewish, so there was always a lively discussion in my household. The very same Concord resort that I visited with Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel, my father had played baseball and waited tables in order to get through dental school. And he always wanted me to be a dentist and a baseball player. And I didn't live up to his dreams or ambition. When I was sworn in as ambassador to the United Nations, Thurgood Marshall asked him, "You must be proud of this boy," and his answer was, if he'd have been a dentist, he'd have been somebody. But I feel like my upbringing has been inescapably Jewish. Senator, I was pastoring down further south in South Georgia some 55 years ago when my first child was born. I went to a hospital, though it was segregated. It was the only place to have my child delivered, and I went with no health insurance, and I had to pay a $50 deposit. And my wife, after having a wonderful baby girl, checked out, and I asked, did I owe any more? And they said, no, you have a refund. And I got $18 back. That was because there was a hospital under the Hill-Burton Act. And Senator Lister Hill was a very conservative, racist Democrat. But he took care of health care. My son is about to have a baby in Alabama any day now. And when he went to reserve his place at the hospital, they asked him for a $15,000 deposit. And he probably won't get anything back. In fact, he'll probably have to pay more. That's not progress. It seems like we're going backwards. Now, I had to get that politics out of the way. That baby girl came home, and shortly afterwards, I was asked to run a voter registration drive in Thomasville and Beachton, Georgia. And just as she was about 3 months old before the 1956 elections, 55, 56, I was confronted by 300 or 400 Ku Klux Klansmen. and we saw them before they saw us. And I said to my wife, with my 3-month-old baby back in the baby carriage, these people are probably coming to see us. And we haven't seen any Klan here, and we've been here almost 2 years. Here's my plan. She's a country girl, and I grew up in the country. We used to shoot at beer cans in her backyard on dates. So she's really a good shot. And so I said to her, if the Klan comes to see us, I'm going to go down and talk to them. I'd been reading Reinhold Niebuhr, Negotiation from a Position of Strength. I said, but I want you to sit in the window with a gun. And I want you to point the gun at the person that I identify as the leader. So if something happens to me, he goes down too. And I said, then we can bargain from a position of strength. She said, you must be insane. I said, what do you mean? She said, I'll never point a gun at a human being. I don't care who it is. And I said, but you're going to let them come, and all they have to do is throw a match on this little piece of house we got, and it goes up in smoke. And she said, don't you believe in all of that stuff you preach? Don't you remember Abraham being challenged to sacrifice his only son? I said, oh my God, what kind of crazy woman did I be? Well, anyway, she won. And rather than face a confrontation, we started thinking, and we found a way to really mobilize the town quickly and organize the white community to keep the Klan, and we got the business community to neutralize the Klan, and we got through the voter registration drive. But this religious business, we had to take very seriously. Now, we moved to New York a few years later, and I was working National Council of Churches across the street from Union Seminary, and had to go to, when it came time for this same little girl to go to school, she was 4 blocks away from Public School 134 in Queens. And I said, how are we going to get her? My wife was doing her master's at Queens College, and I was working all the way in Manhattan, and I got even. She said, I said, remember what you said about Abraham having to trust God with Isaac? I said, yeah. I said, we're going to have to trust God with our daughter. She said, are you crazy? And I said, no, we will walk her to school for 3 days. And on the 4th day, we let her go and trust God. And I've been reading all of this stuff from the prophets and the stuff your father wrote, and we finally realized that once we told her that, by the 2nd day, she had organized a little rat pack of other 5-year-olds to meet on our corner. And they walked to school together and back. And it was all out of this Abraham and Isaac story.